Hello everyone, my name's Vic Gilgers and this is uh, episode 25, Anxiety and Worry. This podcast that I'm doing for you to help you with your well-being, mental health, happiness, all that type of thing, contentment. I'm doing it for you, I'm doing it for myself as well. I've been doing this quite a number of years now, and today's thing is well, I think we all know what anxiety is and we all know what worry is because it takes the form in which we know it. Anxiety is a continuous thinking about some negative past or future event. And if it gets excessive, then it can lead to all sorts of things going wrong, as you can imagine, like lack of sleep, loss of appetite, always up in your head about it, detachment from things, even anger, I suppose, about the anxiety. Worry is thinking about the anxiety and thinking continuously about it and what you could possibly do about it. And that, again, if it's a repetitive thing, can get you down, can upset you. Now, Wayne Dyer, brilliant writer, is passed now, quite a few years, I suppose now, maybe 4 or 5 years. But brilliant. I used to read a lot of his books, and I certainly attended one of his conferences in London. It was really good. Really nice guy, very intelligent, had a lot of emotional intelligence. And he wrote a book, in fact, it was his first book, a bestseller, called Your Erroneous Zones. In one of the chapters was I forget the full name of it, but he classified or described worry as being a useless emotion. Now, in many ways it is, because it doesn't do any good in that sense. But we are human, and I'm not disagreeing with Wayne Dyer. Who am I to do that? He's one of the greats. But I think because we're human, we have emotions. It's a necessary thing. It's there, and being caring, through worry. So you may be worrying about somebody that you love or anybody being ill. Can be a positive thing, but excessive worrying, can make things worse. So we could become ill and not be able to care better for the people that we are worrying about. So I don't really think of it as being a useless emotion. I think it is an emotion that we need to understand where it comes from, which I'm going to hopefully in this podcast do, so that we can best handle it. And in fact, at the bottom of it all is knowing that we can handle it because we're built to handle it. It's just a thing that happens because we are human and we have ways of thinking, good and bad. And sometimes worrying I could equate to being considerate, being compassionate, having empathy, having sympathy. So but when it mainly we look at it as when things go pear-shaped because we worry too much or are anxious too much. And I can give you some examples of it, and I'm going to give you some stories of it. I can think of a time when I was once at work, when I was an academic, and I suddenly felt anxious. And that was because my blood sugar levels were low. And at that time, I didn't know I had diabetes. But so, in other words, there was an explanation for that. But sometimes we go, if we say are anxious, then we go looking for why we are anxious in order to solve the problem of not being anxious and worrying about the thing that, in other words, worrying about the thing of anxiety. Well, anxiety is not a thing; it's a thought, it's a feeling, and so it is just it happens. It is a natural thing. Both worry and anxiety are natural, and they occur. And can occur spontaneously, or can occur as a result of something happening. Either way, and when we get into the habit, and it often is a habit of continuously thinking about our anxiety and how we can get rid of it and worrying about it, so that's where we can keep, in effect, we're creating a trap for ourselves, in which it's a mind trap of which we are encaged in. We think the cage is real when it's not. It's not. So just looking for some of, myself and my daughter, when we were in academia, we had to go to conferences and present papers. And we had some great times doing that. But I mean, at one time, we were just about to present a paper to an audience of about, 200 or 300 academics, all these brainy people. And my daughter said to me, "Dad, I'm a bit worried about this." And so I said, "Look, it's a natural thing." Because she thought, "Oh, my dad, look at me, you're cool Joe over there, he's not worried." And I said to her, "Look, it's a natural thing to be worried, because you're going to go out there and speak to all these clever people, all these academics. You're bound to be worried. It's natural. And don't think that I'm not worrying, because I've been to the toilet twice already for a pee because of nerves." And I said, "Don't worry, just let's get on. We'll get on." I can't remember whether we each presented a paper or separately. Separately or both together. I cannot remember. So anyway, but we did it. And I said to my daughter afterwards, I'm not trying to be clever Dick here, because naturally I was anxious about it all. But once I got into it, I stopped worrying, because I just got on with the job. And you kind of just settle into it. But you've got to do it to prove it to yourself that you can do it. And the more you worry about it, the more that's not going to happen, because if you worry, and you could, like a panic attack. I've seen people do this. I've seen professionals do this, who just run off the stage in panic, a panic attack. So yeah, it's real, but it's all to do with this. And well, let me go on now. Okay. Yes. Similarly, on the academic side, I had an MBA class, Master of Business Administration class, where my students used to present to me various management topics. They used to discuss as a team about a particular management topic. And in one occasion, there was this young lady who on previous presentations had always been confident, presented well, was intelligent and all the rest of it. And just before she was about to present, she came up to me and her words were, "Vic, I've got ants in my pants." And I just said, "Yeah, that's only natural. Look, do you want to do it or don't you want to do it? You just get on with it." Which she did, and she made a marvellous presentation, because she was capable of it. But the point is, her mind was telling her, "Oh my God, it's a worry thing. I've got to feel nervous because I'm here." And that is because of conditioning about that people have about speaking to an audience, etc., etc. So it's just something that the mind gets gypped up about and tells you it's gypped up about it, and perhaps is telling you not to do it because of that, or is having to kind of bite the bullet and go and do it, and then the mind does realise that you can do it, as this young lady had done it before, confidently and quite happily. But this particular time, she just felt anxiety, and she was worried about it. And so it goes up and down. It can happen any time, and sometimes there doesn't seem a rhyme or reason as to why we're anxious. It may be something that's lurking around at the back of our mind, our subconscious, I don't know. But it's there, and it isn't really a worry, because that's all it is. It's all fluffy stuff. It's all made up. It's all ideas, which are just ideas. They are not reality. They're not the truth. So, right, let me relate. So, oh yeah, it's one of my descriptions about worry is that we worry, obviously, if we're anxious about, say, health or our finances or anything like that, we can say we're here and this is where we are. We've not enough money, we've not enough sleep, we've not enough good relationship, whatever it may be. We've not got the right job, or we're not getting promotion. All those are things that the mind says, well, you're here, but the mind knows, because the mind is the mind, and says, well, you should be here. You should have more money. You should get promotion. You should have a better relationship. You should be thinner. You should be more attractive. It goes on forever. That's called the ego. That's called our learned behaviour, that which we're told all the time, that the world out there is all this, that and t'other, and nobody else worries. Oh, by the way, everybody worries, from the beggar to the king. Everybody worries, because we're all built the same. We all have an awareness of our conditioning and our ego says we're here and we should be there. And so there's always something missing according to our ego. And in this world, there is a wrong perception, a wrong knowing that he who dies with the most toys wins. It's just ridiculous. Thank God I'm old enough to know, to have been through all the schooling, all the careering, all the moneying, all the posh housing, etc., that at the end of the day, it doesn't bring you continued happiness. It does. What's inside is already there. And when you get this stuff, and sometimes you need to get it to prove it to yourself. You prove to yourself that there was a Neil Sedaka song called "The Hungry Years," in which Neil Sedaka sings about the fact that when they were young, the salad days and all the rest of it, they were the happiest. But when they got money and they got to arguing and not happy with their lot, which at one time it would have been wonderful. And I know that too. When I was unqualified and I got my first qualification, that was all that I thought about. Me and my mates who did that, if we could just get this particular qualification, we'd be made, we'd be in heaven, and all sorts of jobs and opportunities would come our way when we got that qualification, and then got on with our jobs and our life for a while. Then, that qualification, somebody told us there was a higher qualification, a better qualification, so all we did was we were here and had to get to there again. So we was back in the rat race. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We've all got to do things. And especially if we can do things that are not like work. In other words, work, if we love it, then it's not work and we live a happy life. But what I'm saying is, along the way, in order to get what we think we want, we can have to, well, my mother would say, sup with the devil, meaning work with bad things that we don't particularly like, because we have to, and that is life being the contact sport. But as long as you know that, that's the secret. Now, what else could I say about this? Yeah, so we're here and the mind wants us there, and because of that, in my parlance, we go on wild goose chases, because the mind says, right, this is what you need to do to get from A to B, and the mind does not know. When you are upset, the mind has not got the solution to it, because the mind caused it in the first place. And I often use this analogy. It's like the chief of police sending out the policeman to chase the robbers, when in actual fact the chief of police has committed a crime in the first place. So just beware here. Is that the mind only reacts to what has happened. In other words, what has happened, and the mind puts a narrative upon it. And the narrative is, if you don't like it, well, if you do like it, you're happy. Happy event or circumstance, happy thinking. Bad circumstance or event, bad thinking. And so that's the way in which we react, because the mind reacts to it and wants to get from here to here. And so it creates a narrative, a set of ideas, thoughts, which are just mist again, which are just bits of energy again, but filtered through this computer. So little thing that I've got here is this. I'll wind it up. I don't know if you can see it. Isn't that great? So it does that. It's just a chatterbox. And it's not the truth. It's what you think is the truth. Now, I've gone through this before in terms of thoughts are not reality. Thoughts are your take on what is going on. And when you've got a dog in the fight, as I always say, when you're here and you want to be there because your dog's in the fight, in other words, you get attached to it. If you didn't have a dog in the fight, it would be neutral. But our mind, being conditioned, is not neutral because it has a stance on it. It thinks it's separate, and it thinks it's separate from everything else. So it's here, and it wants to be there. When in actual fact we're all just the same, all one, because we've got just pure awareness. But that awareness, it often when it goes through this noddle box, this mini computer, this little pea brain, we can get upset about the fact that we're here and we want to be there. So now and I was talking about academics, and in my experience, I found that academics are the worst worriers. They are anxious about a lot of things, and they worry about their anxieties because they use their intellect to look at the pros and cons of X and Y and Z, and they're using their intellect misleadingly. Their intellect is good for other things because of their conceptual ability to be able to create things. And that's a wonderful thing about thought, is it is extremely creative. It is wonderful. It can do wonderful things. It lands us on the moon, or I don't know, it kind of, we fall in love, we write poems, we do paint pictures, we invent things. Fantastic. But when it comes to psychological things, the mind hasn't got a clue, because it is not us. Our mind is not us. We think it is because it's talking to us or we're listening to it, but we're more than our mind. And when we make it our servant and not our intellect, right? Let our intellect run wild when we're inventing or writing a poem, etc. But when it comes to, I've got this wrong with me and I want to get there to make it right, it hasn't a clue, because it caused it in the first place. It caused the anxiety by worrying about, not having enough, not being enough, not being tall enough, not being too small, being too thin, being too fat, not having enough money, not going on the right type of holidays, not having the right type of friends, or somebody doesn't like me, or that dog looked at me wrong. And I'm joking a bit here, but this is how the mind goes along. So, right, now then, there's an antidote to this. When you calm down, you start to know what to do. And another little thing that I've got here. Oh, look, my little thing fell over. But this is it is a snow globe, but it's a very little snow globe. But if I shake it up, in theory, you're supposed to not be able to see the little happy clown, whatever it is, happy face in the middle. Oh, yes, look, look, that's me. The pig of happiness. Can you see? I'm a pig. and I'm happy as a pig in whatever. May I read, it says, may his joyful smile remind us how much there is to be happy about. Well, there is. Life. Breathe in fresh air, having a cup of tea, what more can you want? But often we can't see that because our snow globe is clouding what is. And we are what is. We always are okay. But when layered upon this okayness is our thoughts, we cannot be okay. In fact, we can be in perpetual turmoil and misery. So, let me just have a look. Yeah, okay. Now, when our mind clears, and people have techniques for this. Now, it may help, like meditation may help. For me, going for a nice hot bath with some oils will help. Or today I've been swimming and I've been in the sauna and just calming down, and I'm lucky because I'm retired, so I've got more time. But when I was at work and when I was very busy, I still was able to take time out, chill, and let my mind settle. And so we can do various things, I suppose, to help calm the mind. And in one of my talks, I mentioned hypnotherapy. But if you leave your thinking alone, not easy to do, the mind just settles, and and that's where the juice is. Because when your mind does settle, when you go quiet to your thoughts, then you I won't say access because that's the wrong word. You come back to your real self. You come back to what's inside, the space within. And it's not in here, it's not behind the eyes, it's not in here, there, but it's somewhere inside of us. It's maybe called our soul. I would prefer to call it presence, awareness. It's what is. And it's the I am. We are always aware, and that is an intelligent energy. I'm not talking about this type of intelligence. I suppose I'm talking about a kind of knowing. I'm talking about maybe what women would call intuition. So when you go quiet to your thoughts and you're not filtering everything through your conditioning and your ego, then you get to know what to do. And in my experience, this can happen when you have been put on your backside in life, and I refer to a boxing ring equivalent, where you've been knocked down, and if you get up, you're going to get knocked down again. There's nothing you can do about it. So, in other words, I think what's happening there is that your thinking mind just kind of says, well, what can I do? You better stay down, lad. And when, it's not that the odds are against you, and it's not that you've given in. It's just that in that particular state, when you've done your best to, and that's what my father used to say to me, just do your best, son. And so when you've done that and things are not working out for you, then you best go and have a cup of tea and just sit down. And I think then grace descends. That's another word I would use. But I think it's you come back to yourself. You come back to your real self, because you're giving up on this. It can't, and it knows it can't do it as well. And that's when all of a sudden you do start feeling okay. And funnily enough, no, it's not funnily enough, in that situation, with that feeling that you've got, and it is a good feeling, despite you being on your backside, it's just a feeling of, well, I'm still breathing, I am alive. And that's what life is. Life will always tell you what to do. It wants to live. It wants to develop. and it's always there. That's our awareness. That's what it is. Single-celled creatures always will look and move towards the light because they want to live and they want to thrive, and that's naturally inbuilt in us, and it tells us naturally what to do in order to get on and survive, despite all what we thought were the worries. And that is why, well, I won't go on to suicides and what have you, but when people have actually can't see a way through, that's the opposite they may do, is take their life because they can't stand all this. And again, there's a lot of research behind this, and I've seen experience of this within my own family, where and others, where people are in actual fact, well, not within my, well, people who have tried to commit suicide and for some reason or other have not committed suicide, then afterwards they realise they're glad they didn't do it because they had a good life afterwards. I was listening to a story on Radio 4, BBC Radio 4, of where a train driver driving the train got a message that there was a young lady sat on the line in the distance. What he did was he stopped his train with all the people on and spent, I don't know how this all happened, but spent half an hour talking to her. And she sat on the line to commit suicide because she saw nothing in her life. She didn't like herself. She didn't like life. He persuaded her to get off the line, and by that time there was a nurse or somebody or a counsellor waiting for her. Anyway, what happened was that she was of that, got out of that mindset. And this is what I'm trying to do, is to get you into the right mindset, which is a mindset of not always thinking. So the mind is not occupied fully with thoughts, so there's no room for anything else. So no thought, as it were. So that stuff which is always here, love, compassion, and it's got intelligence as this energy, knowing what to do, can come in. And it can't come in when there is no room. It's biblical, isn't it? Where you can't keep pouring into a full cup. So when this is emptied, you can pour into it. Yeah. So what happened with this young lady was that after that, I don't know quickly, but she wanted to get in touch with this train driver. She did do. She found him and thanked him, and long story short, she married him and had children to him, and just recently he's been on the radio living a very happy life. And so that just shows you how bad things can get when we think about things being bad. So, yeah, so I'll more or less finish on this, is that, yeah, the dilemma could be, or the job could be, how do you get out of thoughts? How do you drop thoughts? And my view of this is that the more and more you think about things, the more and more you chew things over in your mind, is not the way. This information that I'm giving you, or this understanding, when you understand that the mind is not you and the mind hasn't got the answers, then when these things pop up, it's a bit like walking aside somebody who's telling you all this guff about yourself or about life, and you suddenly realise that this person is lying, or this person is a trouble causer, or this person is a pain in the backside. You don't want to walk with them anymore. And so when you give a thought no energy, in other words, that person if you just say, I'm not paying attention to it, or walk away, that friend or supposed friend that person would stop coming to you. And it's like thought. Once it realises the game is up, it tends to go away. But there are other ways. The other night, I was in a bit of a funk with myself because after 7 o'clock, because I'm on my own, the phone wasn't ringing, I wasn't going anywhere, and it was poor me syndrome. And then somebody texted me, and it wasn't because they were trying to be nice to me. In fact, they wanted something from me. But I suddenly realised, oh, crikey, at least I'm alive and somebody wants me to do something. But I can't really explain it. I just got into a better feeling. And so and that can happen. And when you immerse yourself in stuff like this, those better feelings come more frequently because you know they're going to come, and because you trust they're going to come, and because you don't trust this. That when that feeling comes, with it comes a knowing of what to do. With it comes what is contained in this feeling is the awareness of what life is, and what it's all about, and that is the truth, because it is the truth. It's about compassion, it's about love, it's about caring, it's about understanding, it's about contentment. And that's what it's about, because that's what awareness is. It is life. You are aware, without it going through all the filter of all your ideas about, it can't be like this, it shouldn't be like that. So I will finish on that. I hope it's been of some use to you. Keep smiling, not thinking too much. Just think when you need to. And write some nice poetry to use your intellect. But other than that, just kind of get on with it and chill. And thanks for listening. Thank you very much.